Hey Pokemon fans, Tamashii here. 2 years ago, I set out to make a video series documenting all the known glitches in the Generation 1 Pokemon games. And while I didn't quite get them all, and more have been discovered since then, I did manage to cover quite a few of the glitches found in Red, Blue, and Yellow. Today, it's finally time to give Generation 2 the glitch hunting treatment and take a look at all the known glitches for Gold, Silver, and Crystal, how they work, and what kind of impact they can have on your game. Though there aren't nearly as many glitches in the Generation 2 games as there are in the Gen 1 games, what glitches there are tend to be rather complex, so this video will be coming at you in parts. I also want to state up front that I didn't discover any of these glitches on my own, so all of my sources will be linked in the video description. Glitches are fascinating to Pokemon players for many reasons. For one thing, there's quite a bit of novelty to be found in getting the game to do something that it wasn't supposed to do. It feels like you're outsmarting the game engine when you pull one off and get yourself a rare Pokemon you shouldn't be able to obtain, or get into an area you shouldn't normally reach. And there's always at least a little thrill that comes with breaking the rules. For another, glitches are abnormalities that we don't quite understand. They can be unpredictable, some even scary and startling, and that intrigues us and makes us want to discover more. It's a glimpse into the raw game, and a clue left behind that accidentally exposes to the player the way the game works, and what makes it tick. What exactly counts as a glitch? Well, essentially, glitches are abnormalities that happen or appear in a program when it was not the developer's intention for it to work that way. They can be programming mistakes, or just quirks of the code that create undesired effects. All the glitches we'll be looking at today can be performed in vanilla copies of the games, without using outside cheating devices like Game Sharks or Game Genies. A world of glitches and bugs with Pokemon awaits. Let's go glitch hunting. Starting off small, we have a few minor graphical glitches, and just general inconsistencies in the graphics design. For this first glitch, you'll need both a Ditto and a Shiny Pokemon in your party. You'll need to get into a trainer battle with a trainer that has more than one Pokemon. Make sure your battle style is set to ship. First, have your Ditto transform into a Pokemon and defeat it. When the game asks you if you'd like to switch Pokemon, select yes, and switch out to your Shiny Pokemon. While your Pokemon is swapping out, it will suddenly have the Shiny palette of whatever Pokemon it was transformed into, though only for a moment. Once it's switched out, it'll be a regular old Ditto again. In the Burnt Tower in Ecruteak City, there are a few trainers you can fight, including a fire breather named Dick. If you battle and defeat him, his overworld sprite will change to a grey palette for some reason. I don't know for sure what the explanation for this is, but I'm guessing it probably has something to do with the script that causes Entei, Suicune, and Raikou to change from grey to colored on the floor below it. Probably due to the insane overhaul Johto's layout got during development, which you can find out more about in my Pokemon Beta Secrets video for Gold and Silver, there are a few minor inconsistencies involving the map for the Ruins of Alph and the surrounding areas. These aren't really errors involving game mechanics, but they are unintended mistakes nonetheless. If you go to the bottom left corner of Violet City near the Pokemart, you can see the corner of what should be the first chamber of the Ruins of Alph. Remember how close that corner comes up to the city. As you walk around to the north entrance of the Ruins of Alph and enter it, take note of just how far you have to travel to reach the ruins. It's quite a few steps. Entering the ruins, head on over to that first chamber. You won't have to travel nearly as far to see that same top corner of the chamber. It's clearly not in the same place it seems to be when you view it from Violet City. If you pay attention to the north entrance of the ruins, it doesn't quite look the same from Route 32 as it does from inside the ruins. The boulders on the sides of it aren't quite in the same place viewing it from one side and then the other, and the entire color of the building changes from white to pink. Whoops. When you think about graphical glitches, the coin case glitch probably comes to mind. This was a glitch discovered way back in the early days when the game was new, but it wasn't until recently that its cause and extended effects were figured out. The version of the glitch most people are familiar with goes as follows. First, save the game before trying this, as it causes your game to reset. Make sure you have the coin case, which can be obtained in the underground of Goldenrod City, and head to Vermilion City. Talk to the Machop walking around stopping the land flat, and then immediately open your bag and scroll to your key items. The scrolling is important, so even if your bag opens up straight to it, make sure to scroll it anyway until you get back to your key items. Then select your coin case and check how many coins you have. And rather than displaying your coins the way it normally should, the game will reset and try and boot up in Game Boy mode rather than Game Boy Color mode. This causes all sorts of graphical glitches, including making Ho-Oh visible in full color on the title screen of Gold version, as well as disabling the Mystery Gift feature. Mostly the effects include discoloration and patchy colors in odd places, increasing in intensity if you get into a wild Pokemon battle. If you try and use a doorway to get from one map to another, you'll still be able to go through, but the shutter effect that normally plays when the map transitions won't work, and it'll just pop onto whatever new map you're heading towards. Sometimes the game will lag, most noticeably when the start menu and party screen are involved, and in general, it's the closest thing to a GlitchCity Gold and Silver have. For the longest time, no one really knew what caused it. It turns out, it wasn't Game Freak's fault this time. but a bug that popped up during the localization process for the English games. In the Japanese version of the games, the dialogue that displays after the player selects the coin case and selects the yes option has a terminator that has a different hex location than any valid terminators used in the localized versions. This causes the localized versions of the game to jump to memory location C1112, which is a section of RAM used by the game to store Pokemon cries. By listening to Pokemon cries and then immediately accessing the coin case, the game will arbitrarily execute the code, which can result in some really glitchy effects depending on which Pokemon's cry you play. Pokemon like Machop and Bellsprout's cries have a hex number of 33, which when plugged into the coin case, tell the game to access memory location EB12, which contains overworld data. This means moving in specific patterns before listening to their cries and accessing the coin case can affect the outcome of the glitch. For example, entering a Pokemon Center, walking 3 steps left, 4 steps up and 2 steps right, and then listening to Bellsprout's cry, and then going into the bag and using the coin case causes this to happen. Trippy. But it can also do other things, like force the game to jump to an address that can be manipulated. For example, it can access the data of party Pokemon, and then jump to the data of the item stored in your PC. What does this mean? Well, it means some really smart people figured out how to manipulate this small little programming mistake and turned it into a way to get Celebi, duplicate items, write custom messages, and so much more. I know you're eager to find out how, so let's start with using it to get ourselves a Celebi. First of all, you're going to need to set up your PC storage box with some very specific items in a very specific order, which means you're going to need to do some fetch questing. Fortunately, almost all of these items can just be purchased from various stores around Johto and Kanto, but there are a couple that aren't quite so easy to get, like the TMs for Return and Toxic. You're going to need a lot of money for this, so make sure you've saved up, or you'll need to grind the Elite Four a few times to be able to afford it all. Your PC storage box should be stocked as follows. The first item can be any number of anything, as long as it's not any of the other items required for this, because otherwise they'll stack and it'll mess up the order. Then the second item can also be anything, but you need to have 38 of it. I picked potions because they're cheap and easy to get, but anything works. The third item needs to be a stack of 2 TM27s, which will probably be the hardest for you to get, since you can only get them once every Sunday, but it's not impossible. The fourth item needs to be a stack of 42 freshwater, followed by 1 lovely mail, followed by HM7, followed by 65 Pokeballs, 4 Great Balls, and 1 Everstone. The next item can once again be any number of any item, followed by 51 Surf Mails, 18 Full Heals, 46 Flower Mails, HM3, 1x Speed, and then TM6, which is the TM Janine gives you when you beat her. After this can once again be any number of any item, and then the last item should be TM41. In addition to stocking your PC item storage properly, you'll also need a few specific Pokemon in your party in a specific order. First, you're going to need a Quagsire that knows Sleep Talk as its first move. The TM for Sleep Talk can be found in the Goldenrod department store basement, and you'll probably find it by playing through the game. Just make sure you haven't used it yet. This Quagsire also needs to be holding an HP up. The second Pokemon you'll need is a freshly caught, low-level Pokemon. Anything in the New Bark and Cherry Grove area will do. Lastly, you'll need a Pokemon that you don't mind turning into a Celebi. You're also going to want something that knows Fly in your party. Don't worry, if you don't put it in certain positions of your party, it won't be affected by the glitch. Of course, you'll also need to have seen or caught a Bellsprout, Machop, Machoke, or Ammonite at some point, so that you can play their cry from the Pokedex. If you're at the point in the game where you can get all these items though, you're pretty much guaranteed to have met this requirement. Put your low-level Pokemon in the 3rd slot of your party and the Quagsire in your 4th slot. Put whatever Pokemon you want to become a Celebi in the 1st slot, then fly to New Bark Town and enter Professor Elm's lab. Save in the doorway and reset your game. Once you've reloaded your save file, exit the lab and walk directly right 4 steps until you're under the first tree. Hit start and open your menu, and then use the Pokedex to pull up the Pokedex entry of either Bellsprout, Machop, Machoke, or Ammonite, and listen to their cry. Then hit the B button to back out to the start menu, and open up your pack. Scroll through your items until you get to the key items, and then use the coin case. If done correctly, the coin should display as normal, and no obvious glitchy effects should occur. Close your pack and fly to Goldenrod, and then walk south to the daycare. Deposit just the Pokemon you want to turn into a Celebi with one of the daycare workers. Do not deposit any other Pokemon. Then ask for it back. The daycare person will tell you it grew by 1 level, and when you take it out, it will have turned into a Celebi. Its name will still be whatever name the Pokemon you turned into it had, so you can change it to Celebi at the name reader, and it will have whatever moves your Pokemon had before. But you can just take it to the move deleter and fix all that. Aside from tracking down all those items, this glitch is really pretty simple to pull off, and a lot quicker than some other popular Celebi getting methods we'll cover in later videos. You can also use this trick to get a certain glitch Pokemon, but that'll also have to wait until a later video. Interestingly, using a similar method, you can actually get the coin case to display a custom message. Once again, you'll need to stock your PC item storage in a certain order with certain items, and unfortunately this glitch requires quite a few more, though none of them are quite so hard to come by. The first 3 slots can be the same as before. Any quantity of any item, followed by 38 of any item, followed by a stack of 2 TM27s. Then deposit 1 nugget, followed by any number of any item, followed by 46 surf mails and 1 charcoal. The next item can once again be any quantity of anything, followed by the squirt bottle key item, followed by any quantity of any item, followed by a leaf stone, which you can get by showing Bill's grandfather an oddish, followed by any quantity of any item, followed by 62 ice heals, 7 revives, 60 lonely mails, 34 ultra balls, 51 flower mails, 43 repels, 1 TM36, any quantity of any item, 18 full heals, 46 portrait mails, HM3, any quantity of any item, and finally TM41 in that order. And once again, you'll need specific Pokemon with you, and they're pretty much the same ones as last time. A Quagsire with Sleep Talk in its first move slot, holding an HP up, a freshly caught low-level Pokemon, a Pokemon that can fly you around, and a Pokemon you don't mind renaming. First, put the low-level Pokemon in the 3rd slot of your party, and the Quagsire in the 4th slot. Then put the Pokemon you'll be nicknaming at the top of your party. Head to Goldenrod and visit the name raider to rename the first Pokemon in your party to any name that consists of 10 characters. Once you've finished, rename it again immediately to a 9-character message, which will be whatever you want to appear when you access your coin case. Exit the name raider's house and fly to New Barktown. Save in Professor Realm's doorway again and reset your game. When you've booted your save back up again, exit the lab and walk 4 steps right to the first tree. Hit the start button to open the menu and open up the Pokédex. Find Machoke and listen to its cry. Then tap B to back out of the Pokédex and open up your pack. Scroll through to the key items pouch and select the coin case. If all went well, the coin case should display the nickname you entered. I had a little bit of trouble with this one, but after trying a couple different low-level Pokemon, it ultimately did display my message, even if the game still crashed immediately afterwards. There's lots more you can do with the coin case, and even more you can do with more glitches in the Generation 2 games, but you'll have to stay tuned till next time to find out more. In the meantime, why not click here to head on over to Did You Know Gaming's new video? It just so happens I got to voice it, and it's all about the development of Pokemon Red and Green, and all that influenced the series as we know and love it. It's some really interesting stuff, so go check it out. And as always, don't forget to click here to subscribe for more Pokemon videos twice a week. See ya!